So, Jono, tonight we have got 6 other teams: Geelong, Gold Coast, GWS, Hawthorn, Melbourne and North Melbourne. Let's begin with the Premiers. Clearly they're going to finish top 6. That'll be your prediction. So let's get that out of the way. What's going to prevent them from going back-to-back?
What a year, honestly. It was huge. 16 straight wins in the competition that we've got, and how even we consider it to be is an almighty effort.
I remember doing a Friday night game, Jono, with Jared Waitley and Hutto and Nathan Jones, and it was against the Dogs. And I reckon it was about round 6 or round 8. And we turned up really with a view of asking a question: how good was the Bulldogs? Were the Bulldogs going to be genuine challengers? Not really giving Geelong the credit that they could be. And their performance, Geelong, was quite superb. And it should have awoken us earlier to the fact that this was a different Geelong, because it was.
It was significant. I think a few of the changes that they made off the field had a big say in that, with Steve Hocking getting back to the club, and the coaching changes that they did make. I just think brought a fresh approach to some of the players that have been around the whole time. The Hawkins-Cameron combo was sensational to watch throughout the entire year. Tyson Stengel was a huge...
Atkins into the middle.
That was one of the moves of the year. Atkins was growing up a superb inside midfielder. Now, when you get to the system and you've got Selwood and Dangerfield and the like in there, Duncan at the time, you get Guthrie, you get pushed out. But it was a great move to put him back around.
Duncan went to the half-back and he wwent to...
Yeah, and Duncan's had his injury concerns over the last couple of years, so he was able to push straight in there. Joel Selwood played, limited minutes in certain times and certain stages of the year. And then you had the young guns. Close went to another year. DeConning was sensational at full back, what he was able to produce. Zach Guthrie was a surprise packet.
He was. He's good, wasn't he?
I worked with Zach a few years ago when I was doing a little bit of part-time work down there, and you could see the ability of where it was going to go, but you just didn't know whether he'd fill out in terms of being able to produce a body size to play the role that he wanted to. And he's such a good interceptor, and you could just see a different size and maturity about the way that he played.
Certainly fooled me. I didn't think he'd make it, and he's come on in
his ball use was a lot better. It's gone to the level that's accepted at AFL level. And then Max Holmes was a huge surprise this year, and a massive jump in his own performance, and I think added some excitement to the way the Cats play their footy with his speed and burst out of the contest. It was just a shame that it ended the way that it did for a young man in the competition. So their off-season was great again. Tony Bruin, Jack Bowes, Ollie Henry. So they've got the young guns. So the good thing now is that you've got Selwood retiring. You've got Hawkins at the end, Danger coming towards the end the next few years potentially. So they've got these youngsters now that they've been able to get from other clubs that become the future. So it's onward and upward for the Cats. They'll repeat what they did this year. Maybe not the wins in a row, but they'll certainly repeat their performance and be very tough to beat.
So Geelong top 6. We're moving on to the Gold Coast. I'll be interested in your thoughts on the Gold Coast, whether or not you can see them pushing into the finals.
Oh, they're a mid-table team, and they will be again next year, Jared. We've watched a lot of the Gold Coast Suns together, and I think at times we get excited by them, and other times you sort of sit there and question actually when will they make that next step as a football club. I thought they made some great strides this year. I really did, and I think they stayed in the season longer. Normally it's a big start by the Gold Coast Suns. They're fresh, they're up and about, tackle pressure's high, 100 tackles a game, and it slowly diminishes as the years go on. But then this year they hung in there for longer. So that was an improvement, I think, across the board. King goes down with the ACL at the start of the year. Chol was a good recruit with Casbolt. I thought they stood up. 79 goals between them. That's a big tick. You got Witts and Miller in the middle of the ground, which is a great combo. Matty Rowell was the one that I had a really close look at this year. So Anderson goes to another level. Rowell took a little bit, but finally got back to that contest-to-contest play that made him stand out when he first entered the competition. He lost that with the injury, and then when he came back, he wasn't physically ready, and he was caught in the middle a lot. And last year, or the season just gone, he got back to being able to push around a little bit better and be a little bit stronger in the contest again.
Gets lots of tackles. I'd love to see him get some more possessions.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, totally agree with that. So, look, Ben Ainsworth improved. Elijah Holland showed some class. I thought he was around 21 rising star. And that game in particular, with 23 disposals, 9 marks, 2 goals and 520 metres gained, you thought, okay, here's a young man that can, with another preseason under his belt, he's got some confidence, can hopefully help them accelerate where they need to go to. So they had some big wins throughout the year. They had some poor losses again, as we understand. They're off season. They got Ben Long from St Kilda, Thomas Berry from Brisbane. They lost Corbett. They lose Rankin, which is a big one. And Bowes, who was on the outer there anyway. So he just he leaves. He wasn't playing. So now they go in the draft with pick 5, 45, 71 and 74. So pick 5's the big one.
Okay, Jono, couple of questions. Where does King play? Is he definitely forward, or do you see him potentially coming off the Rico, slotting into centre half back?
Oh, it would be tempting.
Tempting for me.
No question.
They need another. They need another one.
I think that he does stay in that position. I think Chol's the flexible one.
Centre half back for Chol?
Potentially.
No.
So I just think, well, the combination, I think they've got to give a go first.
Yep.
Casbolt slides, unfortunately, and maybe becomes the second ruck if fiver on the interchange. Chol-King combination, it's got something about it that can grow over a period of time. So I think they give that a go first before altering King's positioning on the ground.
And Jack Lukosius, what's his best position and where's he at?
I think his best position is probably across half-back. Yeah, I think, trying to play half-forward, high half-forward, I understand them trying to utilise his ball inside forward 50, which at times was unbelievable, and at other times, he missed his target by the length of the straight. So there's that element with his kicking, but I think off half-back is where he should try. They should try and settle him down. Yeah,
there's another couple of levels for him to go up. I think if they are going to take great strides, then he needs to play like a top 2 or 3 draft pick.
But they've got to get serious with that in the preseason and seriously do extra kicking with this guy to get it to the level required consistently.
Middle 6 or bottom 6?
I had them in the middle 6, Gold Coast.
Gold Coast, middle 6. We're going to move on now to the Giants. New coach, lots of midfield players out, got a lot of youngsters coming back into the side. Phil Davis returns after an injury. Where are they going to finish, Jono?
Oh, they're going to finish in the bottom 6 for me.
Bottom 6.
Yeah, GWS. Look, 2022, six wins, coach gone, departing stars again when you look at Taranto and Hopper and Bruin. Bobby Hill goes to Collingwood. So there's 4 players there that they lose that are in their starting 22. And that's the aspect for me that you go, okay, well, next year they're starting again now, GWS, and they've got the new coach. They've got some young guns like a Finn Callahan who can provide a bit of a spark. Jacob Ware I thought was okay.
I haven't seen much of Finn Callahan, have we?
No, we haven't, but we will.
Yeah,
because
he's a good player.
under what structure of their team now, he should push straight in and get an opportunity early. It's up to him then whether he holds his spot in the team, and that may fluctuate as a young man. We understand that. Isaac Cumming and Tom Green, they're the two that elevated themselves a little bit. Tom Green did drop away as the season went on. Can he play 22 rippers next year? So that's where GWS are at. The biggest key for me in 2023 and beyond, new coach Adam Kinsley, but they need to start retaining players because every year, whether it's
that means they've got to get the salary cap organised.
That's spot on, and that's what I was just about to say, is their salary cap has pushed players out. They've got to get to the stage now where as a football club, they get that aspect right so then they can retain players because if they keep losing players over the next 5 years, then we're just going to be talking about exactly the same thing year after year.
Bottom 6 for the Giants. The Hawks, they'll be bottom 6.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about the Hawks.
The Hawks, well, Sam Mitchell is first campaign at the helm. I thought it was successful.
Yep,
I really
good.
did.
I liked it.
So I think he's got the formation of a successful side well and truly underway. His forwards are pretty good. He's got some young forwards down there. His midfield, he threw the youngsters in there to get them going, and they actually stood up for most of the year. And Newcomb led the way in regards to that. Mitch Lewis down forward, CJ off half back, Will Day, Scrimshaw, Bramble, Granger, Barras. He's starting to build a core group of 10 players, 10 to 12 players that will play potentially 200 games together. And we all know that if you build that, then that becomes the successful group to take you to the level. And there's players in this 10 or 12 that he's putting together that are high class that will get better year on year.
Okay, one final one. One word answer. Gowers or Penkerville for the president?
Oh, Gowers for a bit of a change. Mitchell's made a change. Gowers is on that as well.
Okay, Jono, one final question. One word answer, please. Nankerville or Gowers for the president?
Gowers.
Going Gowers. Gowers is in for Jono. Okay, from Hawthorn, we're going to the Demons. One of the most disappointing sides last year. I know they've had a very high bar, but started, I think, with 10 straight wins and finished losing so many games in the back half of the season.
Yeah,
Where do they finish?
Spot on. They finish in the top 6.
Yep.
You're right with the start of their season. It was unbelievable. Then they finished with 3 losses in a row to the Dockers, Swans and Magpies.
Mm-hmm.
So after the 10 wins, they had those 3 losses to the Dockers, Swans and Magpies.
Yep.
And what happened then, I think the competition got some hope. I think in the first 10 weeks, the competition was like, what do we do to stop this team? 3 sides did it in a row, and the competition sort of sat up and took notice of that. Then they lose their 2 consecutive finals, and that just was a disappointing end. The back half of their year, they just had the rumblings on the outside, and their football on the inside was a little bit inconsistent. And I think the biggest thing for Melbourne is some of their forwards, and in particular Bailey Fritz, I think up forward, had some moments to really reflect on. And trust me, I've been in that situation where you've had the shot when probably there was a teammate there to give it to. So I'm talking from experience. And you've got to reflect on those moments to make yourself better, but also the team improvement is significant with that. And it's Bailey and it's Spargo and it's Pickett and the mid to small forwards that I think can really shift that way that they do play as a collective group. Because in their grand final year, it was unbelievable how they were as a group. They went away from that, and then they need to get back to what they produced as the collective, not as the individual.
One of the challenging positional moves for me was Brayshaw into the middle. And it worked for Brayshaw, but I'm not convinced it worked for Melbourne.
Yeah, well,
because off the half back line, under pressure, I reckon they were found out. They I think, lacked the capacity to move the ball, and that was their big knock on. The champion data stats will tell you their ball movement was horrible compared to the year before.
So maybe that does happen if Viney plays. So you go Oliver, Petrarca, Viney as your 3. Then you need to start mixing that up with a Pickett through there, I think, a little bit more often, and Sparrow. So Jordan had a good year.
Even Dunstan can come into the side. They didn't use him at all.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. But he's probably more your filler in case one of those guys, the top end guys, gets injured. The May and Lever situation was really strong, I thought. I thought they played well together. Petty's the question mark now.
Forward or back?
Well, I think he's still back. You need the third key back. Yes, he played one good half of football up forward, and everyone went, well, we've been calling for that for some time. But it's not necessarily going to work every week either. I think he's more settled as a defender.
Okay, Demons for the top 6, which means there's only one spot available for the top 6 left. And it's not going to be North Melbourne, but they're our final side for tonight, Jono. It's a really interesting look, North Melbourne. They've picked up a few players. They've got a great new coach. Coach is under the public scrutiny at the present time with the investigation. But I think that'll sort itself out. Where do you see the Kangaroos?
Yeah, well, this year, when you look at it was just a season where they had significant losses. Key players were absent. Departure of Dable Noble. They need to create some stability around the football club. And Alistair Clarkson gets through the next period of time. I think he's the man who can create that, certainly. So, and the other, I suppose, aspect was the Jason Horne-Francis situation, which bubbled away in the second half of the season. That's been dealt with now. That's done. They can put a full stop on that and hopefully move past it, unless he dominates for Port Adelaide.
That's right.
And they'll work that.
Darren Thomas is the other one.
On it.
He needs to sort himself out and get going.
Yeah, that's no question whatsoever with that. Josh Simpkin was good.
Luke
Davies-Uniacke.
Terrific.
I think he was the biggest improver on the year from most individuals in the competition because he went from a player that was averaging 15 disposals roughly, and lucky to get over 20 at times, to now 25 getting over 30 consistently. And it was his break out of the contest, and he got to the...
He was dangerous.
Yeah, he was. He was good to watch, really good to watch. And then you had some youngsters like Curtis and Archie got to go, and Bergman. So North Melbourne will build. Alistair Clarkson, if he jumps back into the seat, they'll probably win 3 or 4.
Okay. 3 or 4 wins for the Kangaroos. A couple more than that would be a good season.